Signs of the Southland for Sunday, January 11th, 2026. Gentlemen, once again, in 2026, it's time for your Georgia Tech marriage of numbers and words. My name is Akshay Easwaran, and joining me once again are Jack Purdy and Jake Grant. Gentlemen, a lot of football news to get to today. Jack, where would you like to start?
I feel like everyone's biggest question once we heard that Buster Faulkner was going to Florida was who the hell is going to take over? We had Chris Weinke call plays at the Pop Tarts Bowl, which went so-so, I guess we could all say after reviewing the final drive. But after that, there was a hunt. We didn't know who it was going to be. Chip Kelly came to interview at one point. We're like, huh, are we going to get Chip Kelly? Was this going to be a thing? There was footage of like, oh yeah, him and Brent talked at the Peach Bowl last year. You never know. And then it ended up being this guy that a lot of people have been clamoring for literal years. And that is George Godsey, coming back to us from the NFL. And so he's our offensive coordinator now. A guy who has not had much play calling experience in the past. Had a couple of games under Bill O'Brien down in the Texans, and that only once he had this that didn't go forever. But played with Key, was the quarterback that Brent Key helped guard when they were playing at Tech in the early 2000s. So we'll see. That guy who had held a number of records at Tech in passing until Haynes King existed. So that's something. I don't know. I know this was like kind of a homer pick for a lot of people, is how I'd put it, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not all the way there, but I am hopeful that it can be good.
My question about all this,
Yeah.
it's like, why? Like I don't understand, and this is gonna come out real strong out of the gate, but it's how I feel. Why did we do this? Why is he
I
even a
know.
homer pick? He has like again, successful Georgia Tech quarterback, but successful Georgia Tech quarterback, much like successful Atlanta Falcons quarterback, does not equal
No.
successful offensive
Offensive court.
coordinator or
Right.
team president.
Yeah.
Why are we the ones to experiment with this? If he's so amazing, why has he not gotten
Done
this
it.
experience elsewhere? I'm
Right.
concerned.
Right.
Jack, this feels like Nepo hire level. I
I
did
didn't
not
want to be the one to
expect
say
to come
it.
this
I don't
strong
disagree.
out of the gate,
Yeah.
but like shoot, man, like might as well get the hot takes off now. I have no
Yeah.
idea why we did this.
Look, it's mid-January. This is hot take time. That's how we stay warm. It's like 45 degrees outside.
This is true.
So
I gotta heat
Chuck
them.
them into the oven and let them burn, right?
let
Let's go.
me let's start by level setting with his career history in the NFL. This is from RamblinWreck.com. I'm just going to quickly paraphrase. Two seasons as offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, one as co-offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. That's 2015 and 2016 at the Texans, and 2021 as the Dolphins. He was the primary play caller at the Texans in 2014. He started with the Patriots as an assistant, offensive assistant in 2011, and was a tight ends coach in 12 and 13. Advanced to the Super Bowl with the Patriots in 2011. Then went to Houston, quarterbacks coach in 14, OC, like I said, 15, 16. Sorry, I'm literally reading just straight off. Curiously, he was with the Lions as a defensive assistant in 17, then
Who
back
knows what that
to
actually means?
yeah, then back to quarterbacks coach, then three with the Dolphins, tight ends coach, co-OC, and then tight ends coach. Again, there's a lot of players on here that he's worked with that are successful. He's also coached at the collegiate level with George O'Leary at UCF, and Key at UCF.
Yeah.
So
And I
curious.
want to, yeah, let's note there, like that's where like the idea of like this is a Nepo hire like comes out. It's just like okay, it's a guy. Now you can say it that way. You can also just say it as this is a guy that Brent has been familiar with and feels like he can trust. Which again, that's a thing that goes everywhere in business and life is like who are your relationships with, who have you worked well with, who do you trust in life. Like that's not exclusive to just football hires. But with how consequential hires like this can be, with how few opportunities you have on the field, that's where that's like, okay, did this process result in the guy that's going to be the most like thought through? Is this going to be the guy that's gonna have the most potential at Tech? Um, and obviously this whole thing of like hiring a tech man and things like that. Like that's not just with football, like that's across other sports as well, and it has worked in other sports. Like softball's done it very well with Eileen and things like that. Um, so it can work. I mean, obviously, it's worked as good as it has under Brent. So you can't say it's not a bad concept, so to say. That's invalid, but it is just still interesting to be like, okay, there were a lot of options on the board, and this is where we landed. And you've had guys. I mean, when you know Chip Kelly's on the board, yeah, maybe it won't work for forever, but he did very recently run an offense that won a national title down the street, quite literally, in Mercedes Benz. So we'll see. I mean, I I mostly agree with you. It's like, was this the best situation? Probably not. Could it still work? It still could. And not to spoil that point at the end of this whole discussion, which is like, we have no clue, how this team's going to be. We have no clue how this thing's all going to mesh together. We have no clue still really who our team is because we still have the quarterback situation to solve for the most part. So
you're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Like,
we'll get there.
Yeah. All that to say, like, this could be good, but I totally understand and reckon with y'all. Like, yeah, this process was interesting.
Yeah, I think the process is what a lot of people in our circles have question marks about. Like, I don't, sure, like maybe this works out, but I think generally good process leads to good results. And when you just make like 1 degree separation jumps like this, especially like later into the cycle. I mean, this cycle is crazy early as it stands, but you get what I'm saying. I think people get nervous, but we'll see. It again.
Yeah, and that's the other part. It's like it was like basically a month we didn't have a guy at least publicly lined up. And Brent obviously kept this very tight under wraps for a long time. Who knows how long he actually had it done with George? Like, me, obviously they're buddies. They probably could have texted about this in like October if they wanted to. If like, I have no insight on that, but like that's the kind of thing they could have established a while back if Brent wanted to establish it a while back. But there's such little visibility into the actual process that it just leaves us to have to wonder and ask questions that we don't really have the answers to, because it's not like Brent's going to come up and be like, okay, yeah, here's the timeline. Here's every single step that I took and how I did the interview. Like, that's not a thing. I mean, he did say
this isn't Manchester United. Like, no one's putting Georgia Tech's coaching search in the gossip rags every week or on Twitter every week.
No.
But I think the thing that we haven't really put out there is, if George Godsey did not go to Georgia Tech, would he be on anyone's radar?
Fair. Yeah, who the hell knows? Probably not. Probably not. But again, it goes back to the relationship part of this whole thing, and how that's how Belichick hired. That's how Belichick just hired his kids. Like, he hired his friends.
And Bobby Petrino.
And Bobby Petrino.
There's that.
And Lombardis that are questionably good at doing football things at this point. So, like,
they're good at visiting Saudi Arabia, though.
That is maybe I'll edit that out. I don't know. We'll see. But nonetheless, yeah, we'll see how the process goes. Anyways, defensive coordinator Jason Semore. That feels like a good get. I think that was a good get. I'm totally fine with that get. He was a former assistant here at Tech, so he's got experience here and did well at his other stops. So, this feels like a clear step up from Blake Gideon, who there was a lot of, is he leaving, is he not leaving kind of stuff going on. Texas people said he was leaving, but we never said he was leaving. Technically, Tech has even announced it. This is just a Pete Thamel announcement, which is basically his gold. But we'll see. I do like, if you could tell me which one feels more like a win, it's Jason Semore getting hired as defensive coordinator versus Godsey.
I think, but with both of these hires, it's a similar thing, though. Like, the undercurrent of, they both have direct Tech connections. I think one of the things that I've heard coming from people that are affiliated with that program in Athens a lot is like, hey, is our situation, like theirs, I guess, going to turn into Dabo 2.0, where they keep hiring from the same well of guys, keep hiring like that first degree of separation kind of guy, or the university affiliated kind of guy, and you just enter this malaise, right?
Yeah.
Of course, for them, I would love for them to enter a malaise. That would be beautiful. I think
they might be in it.
Sure, but I think here, I'm not sitting here saying right now that this is symptomatic of long-term program malaise in much the same way. I mean, it's not even long term for Clemson, but like
No.
in some sort of way, like it's a downturn. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I think like it is curious to contextualize that the way that Clemson did their hiring, especially like the latter stages of Dabo's era now, before I guess Garrett Riley, what the hiring that led to like Mike Bobo in Athens, and then this, like taking those as three examples of this same malaise-inducing or malaise-fearing trend. I find it kind of interesting. I think as long as Seymour can do or like turn a collection of parts into more than it's some, I forget what the idiom is. I'm under caffeinated right now, but like as long as he can get these guys in the right positions too,
Yeah.
honestly, especially looking towards the defensive performances at the back end of 25, it like literally replacement level defensive coordinating, I think gets Tech in 2025, it gets Tech to 10 wins.
It makes it a lot
Right.
easier. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it makes our defense was 1+1 equaled -1 this year. And yeah, at that replacement level, or at least that 1+1 equals 0. And it gets us to not absolutely shooting ourselves in the foot or looking like we don't know how to play football for a couple first stretches of possession. So, yeah, hopefully it works out. I mean, we were kind of there. I mean, that was the thing with Santucci. Like, it wasn't perfect, still had a lot of points in a couple situations, but at least it was like, okay, there's something here that was working. The run defense was much better. And it kept us in a lot of games.
Right. And it's like one of those things where, and we harped on this a lot during the season, it's just like you have to do well with the parts that you have. Like you
Yeah.
can't, like, we can say that this is a problem with not having the dudes, and football is different from like football. Yes, the players matter, but putting them in the right spots to succeed also matters.
Yeah.
Right. And I think consistently, especially coming out of that second bye, this defense struggled a lot
Yeah.
across the board. Pass rush was there, which is different, but like everything else was not there, and it was pretty frustrating. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think one of the key parts here is like we don't know what players both of these coordinators are going to be working with,
Yep.
especially George Godsey, considering that Haynes King has graduated, Jamal Haynes has graduated, and then a raft of other offensive skill players have departed for the University of Florida, along with former offensive coordinator Buster Faulkner. There is only one returning wide receiver in Jordan Allen. Even like the star wide receiver of 2 years ago, Eric Singleton, who had already transferred to Auburn, is now playing at Florida. So,
And we lost Canyon to the other
yeah,
school.
and Isaiah Canyon went 90 miles out east. So,
Can I say a real zinger that
Please,
I've been sitting
please.
on? I might have texted it to you, Akshay. All love to the 2024 team, which I had a lot of fun watching. But good luck on inheriting the backups and half the cast of the 2024 Birmingham Bowl runners-up, Florida.
They would kill to be in the Birmingham Bowl.
given how bad that program has been the last couple of years, they might actually really want to make it to the Birmingham Bowl first. But
Oh, they've got guys
Jack,
who've already lost to Vanderbilt and UGA, so that's
Right.
come on.
Jack, you have in our shot sheet here. You think that this Florida poaching situation is good? Question mark.
Quote good. It's a perspective
I get
thing.
it, but explain, like, walk this out for me.
Yeah. I mean, so it's following along. It's not as I would say. It is far less good than the other poaching we've had recently, which is like we lose Santucci to the NFL. Like obviously, like things did good there. Gets promoted. Singleton gets a bag at Auburn, kind of thing. Like it's the en masse leaving is not good, but I think it's still proof enough of the put. It's still enough proof of the work that Brent's doing that it's like, okay, what we're doing here is more than it is worthwhile enough for teams with still bigger pockets than us to be like, hey, we'll just take this. We can't do it ourselves, so we'll take y'all. That in a sense is is the quote unquote good part, so to say, like that Brent's been building up a good enough program, and obviously the program's doing as good as it's been in a decade. Like we should have had 10 wins this year, one way or another, and we just barely didn't. So in that sense, it's like yes, we are performing at a level that makes higher tier programs think we are worth rating. While you can basically actively rate a team and not pay the school that you're rating, please give us transfer fees tomorrow, please. Um, in that sense, that's where I get the good part. Now, is this good for us? Not in the slightest, because then we're screwed with the okay. Now we have to go the tier below us and find all the guys to poach from them, or maybe along our tier, like we might be doing with Bo Prabula pretty soon, hopefully. Um, like that's more my context. There's like in the grand scheme of this, we are doing successful things that is leading schools that are not successful, but that can be to be like let's just take their thing and bring it our way. Now the fact that and I go to relationships again. The fact that Faulkner goes to Florida carries a lot of relationships, people that liked playing under him. That matters a lot more in this case, I think, than just like the Florida just paid for Georgia Tech's offense kind of thing. The Faulkner piece matters a lot more here because they want to play under him. I assume some guys were like, "Hey, I think I'll have more opportunities playing at Florida right now than I will at Tech for whatever reason," or they prefer to play SEC ball. Like I don't know the minds of these 19-year-olds. They are 19. Let them do their thing. They got families. Like I'm not going to judge them for their decision making. Um, but it's just it's interesting how many reasons a team can take our players and take our coaches is wide ranging. Like you can't locate all this on one single thing. You can a little bit, I guess, with Faulkner leaving and taking Philo and the rest of the gang. Uh, my hopeful side of this is like, hey, we're doing good enough for people to want to replicate our program. The unfortunate part of it is that we can't just keep it all together, and that it looks a hell of a lot worse considering we kept everybody last year. Like we did good in 24. People are like, hey, they got something cooking here. We do really well this year because basically no one leaves between 24 and 25 besides Eric Singleton, and we get Rivers and Patterson out of it. And then it basically works. I mean, I'll say that I think the season worked for all in all. Um, about to walk in circles again, but you get the point. Um,
Yeah, I think that I think contextualizing that is really important, right? You don't lose anyone in one year, and then you do lose everyone in a year that you were a lot like actually a much luckier, right? Like if you look at the SP plus
yeah,
expected wins or second order wins, Tech is overperformed by like 1.8 expected wins. I think it's either 1.8 or 1.2 expected wins.
Wake
Just getting to
Forest.
9 versus 7, right? I think that like that on the tin affects some of the calculus here too. Is like you're paying somewhat for that overperformance, right? If you're some of these clubs is like, wow, I need to get back in the football mode and not the soccer mode. You're paying for that overperformance, or you're paying for contributors to that overperformance
Right.
about for some of these teams, and especially if you're at Florida, who's trying to get back into the SEC contenders list, especially now that the playoff has expanded. Like that is a reasonable calculation, right? The same guys playing a similar, like the same offense being played by mostly the same guys. If you think that experience in a system is the major contributing factor to transfer success, then it makes sense, right? I think
Yeah.
we saw this a couple of years ago actually at I think it was Western Kentucky. They basically imported an entire offense from the FCS level, including its quarterback, running back, and its top wide receiver. And it
I mean,
worked. Like they had a really successful year that year.
Signetti basically did this at Indiana when he left James Madison. Like James Madison just went the whole team just went to Indiana and got
Right.
restarted there.
And I think like if I'm talking objectively, right, taking the fandom part out of it, and I have a lot of thoughts on that, so we'll get back there. But if you are saying that experience in a system and experience under a specific staff and playing experience, period, like production experience, period,
Mm-hmm.
is the most contributing factor to transfer success, then this makes sense as a strategy, right? Like just the fact that you are playing a high number of snaps in a given year or a high number of snaps under a specific coordinator or have spent a lot of time with that coordinator, like all of that makes sense. There's the Aaron Philo at all in this, given that he's played maybe 100 snaps total in his college career. Yes, he's been at Tech for 2 years. Um, but both of those were with Buster Faulkner. And if he's saying, hey, like you have the opportunity to start in Florida, I don't, and I don't think that you are turning down going to the SEC, right?
No,
Like as a
no.
quarterback, all these kids, like
That is
the
that is
vast
that
majority
is
of
a
these kids
yeah, that is
want
a
to go to the
business
NFL
decision.
and they see the SEC as a stepping stone. Like I totally get it, right? Like
Yeah.
objectively get it. It's just like but I think it sucks for the teams that are caught in the middle here of like, okay, so we just got our entire roster rated. It's like I compare it to like a team that's probably in like the fifth or sixth leagues in Europe in soccer. It's like when they have a good season, when they go to the semifinals of the Champions League, that team is eviscerated,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they get picked apart for spare parts by a bunch of other teams that are in the top four leagues, the top three leagues, just because they did so well.
Yeah.
And so this is the same situation. It's like how you have, unlike those clubs, it's like you don't really have like soccer clubs, you don't have an academy system to reload from. Like, especially now, like you're looking like two or three rungs down your depth chart and seeing a bunch of holes,
Yeah.
right? I think before we started recording, we talked about Oregon's situation, right? Oregon went to the Peach Bowl with a bunch of its second stringers in the transfer portal, and then most importantly, like it's starting running back because its first string running back was injured. Its starting running
They had
back
to
was
play.
actively
He
in
was
the
in the, he
portal. Like
started
he
the
had
game.
to play.
He
He
started the
had to
game.
start the game,
Yeah.
right?
It's not so. Jake,
It's
I don't mean to cut you off, but like I want to ask Jake, like it's from a fan like in consuming this just as a fan, does I feel like the answer is obvious, but just to do the exercise, does this make it harder to be a college football fan for you to have
Yeah.
all this crap go on?
Yeah, I mean it absolutely does. I think it's the same way, and this is going to sound maybe like a tortured metaphor, but maybe not. I think if I had thought about it more than 2 seconds ago, then it might have a little more coherence. But when fans first started to have to come to grips with free agency in professional sports, that was shocking for people.
Yeah, yeah.
A prospect that you, and kind of like the academy system, Akshay, right? That came up in your system. Obviously, trades were a thing, but you never really had to grapple with them leaving. And obviously, there have been transfers in college, right? We saw that. Um, you know, before the transfer portal, you had a year to sit out for a long time in there too.
But you would, yeah, you
Transfers
wouldn't
have
have
always been a thing.
right.
They've just always been a thing.
None of the best
That
players did it
being
because of the
said,
year. Yeah,
yes, the year dinged a lot of the best players from doing it. Granted, it does feel like there's been a lot of nice um, intermixing between teams that can punch up and beat a team on any given day. Heck, Indiana is playing for a national championship against Miami, who has the opportunity to win a national championship before they've won the ACC, greatest league in the world.
indeed.
But it does make it harder to be a fan, right? If you are a person below the 95th percentile of college football viewing, or somebody who just likes college basketball and you tune out some of this stuff, or baseball, or you're into the NBA or college or NFL, right? Like there is a whole sideshow going on that is almost impossible to follow because
Yeah,
it's nooks and crannies and affects 750 schools across the country, because it's Trinidad Chambliss, a very famous example of a player
yep,
coming up from D2, right? And great, that it stinks for Ferris State, but he's getting a shot that he never would have had before. So I'm
yeah.
not trying to say it's
Increasing,
all
yeah, yeah,
bad,
yeah. The
right?
personal
Like
opportunity.
there's pros to mobility. Granted, there should probably be a little bit more structure, and we don't have to get into that right now. But yes, there are certain things about it that are good, and like maybe Romello Height is a good local example
Sure,
for us,
yeah.
or a Kyle Kennard, right? Like a player who is good, a player who is quality, but they're they're not here to play school. Not 95, maybe more percent of folks are, and granted, this might be their one main chance to make a good amount of money. So I do not say all this to just to besmirch
They got to make
anyone.
their
And
decisions. Yeah,
I know I got two zingers in before that seemed pretty cynical, right? But like you got to do what's best for you, and it's clear to me that investing in a place does not have the same payout that, being essentially every year a free agent does, unless there are very, very specific, probably expensive situations, or the exact opposite where it is, like, you know, if you're third or fourth on the depth chart, yeah, that might be a pretty good spot to be to ride it out and have a good 3-4 years. But the entire middle of exciting, development completely shifts a division up or down each year,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
anyone between the very top and the very bottom, and that makes it challenging. And to make the illusion, right? Again, we are people who are extremely to overwhelmingly plugged into what goes on in college football and with Georgia Tech. But if you are somebody who is just like, I want to go to some games and have some fun, it stinks to not know who's going to be on your team. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It maybe it'll make me a little bit more interested in the spring game this year to know that there's not a second transfer portal
Yeah.
session, right?
You don't gotta,
But,
you don't
like,
gotta, you don't gotta hide guys this time. Like they
Yeah,
they
exactly.
basically hid Patterson and Rivers last year because like we don't want
Mhm.
them to get poached after we just got them and paid. I don't know what they paid. I assume
I
they paid
remember
a
us
decent
talking
sum,
about it,
but
being
yeah,
like, "Huh, that was kind of a dud."
yeah. We were
Right?
like, why are they? Texas outright canceled their game last year. Like they just didn't
Yeah.
even do it. And I
And
was like, are they? Like I was like advocating. Like, I remember last year I was advocating that we should have canceled it, our game, just for a strategic standpoint, not a this is a fun day for the fans standpoint. But now maybe you can do it and not to worry.
and Jack, we are thankful. This is me tipping cards for what segment is coming next, but like I am thankful that we are in a place where we have an extremely competent and watchable baseball program coming up
Yes.
this spring. Like we had a nice fun end to volleyball season. Women's basketball is rounding into form. College sports are not beyond a saving or not worth watching.
Yeah.
Again, Indiana
Absolutely.
is playing for a national championship. I cannot stress to you how absurd of a concept that is. That is awesome that they were able to go and do that, right? But
Yeah.
like if you're a Cal fan, it probably stings to see, for what Fernando Mendoza has done in the same way that if Aaron Philo has a killer year next year, it'll sting for us, right? And
Yeah.
to that and to double down on the Cal and Georgia Tech piece there and go back to baseball, like the difference in baseball or volleyball is Georgia Tech is sitting a lot closer to the top of the heap. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
think for 90% of Tech fans that just do not, engage with, no, maybe not 90%, that's probably a little harsh, but like for the majority of fans
many.
that have their main engagement through football, where it is, oh my gosh, what the heck, existential, like Georgia Tech is going to have Jared Avencula playing for its baseball team. He is one of the best players in the country, and he did not just show up out of East Cobb last week, right? Like
No.
that is a transfer, a big transfer, one that I am not as informed on how the money exchange on baseball goes as I would like to be, but I
Who
know
the hell
enough
knows?
about
Yeah.
football and softball and basketball to know that it's probably not nothing to get the biggest name, one of the biggest names in the portal of your school. And
Yeah.
that is where it's of two minds, right? Like, yeah, I want to be able to follow a star play. Like we were just spoiled to have the same starting quarterback for 3 years in a row.
Three.
That doesn't happen.
There is a very good
does
chance
not.
that we will not have the same quarterback for 3 years in a row for a while, unless the
Maybe
situation changes.
ever.
Yeah, like
Maybe
it's
ever.
yeah, that was we got lucky that Haynes King was like, I am
Mhm.
doing this Georgia Tech thing. Like that is what I am here to do. I'm not here for me. I'm here for us. And he repeated that basically in every statement he ever said.
They probably paid him pretty decent too. Like
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
like he didn't do that out of the goodness of his heart either. Like it was a mutually beneficial deal, and we were very fortunate that his aims and his relationships and his goals lined up with what he could get out of Georgia Tech and our program. And
Alignment.
like I'm saying, and now I've talked for like 5 straight minutes, so hope
Well, I'll
everyone
get it.
is
I'll get
still-
into the rest of the
still
people that
here,
are like
so.
getting. I'll talk about our next quarterback because we don't know who's going to play quarterback. It could be Bo Perbula. He's toured campus. He's touring some other campuses. He's stretching out his visits, but it seems like we're definitely in the running for him. Or it's just going to be Grady Adamson or Graham Knowles. If we don't know. A part of why I'm actually kind of hoping we do a spring game is that Graham or Grady gets a lot of time and we get to kind of see some more action from them. Granted, it'll be a very limited play sheet that they run in those games, but I just want to see Graham Knowles play against people that aren't Gardner Webb, basically. and just see what they've got. 'Cause I remember the first time we saw Haynes at the spring game, and I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. We had no idea how good he was, and then we seemed like he could beat Pyron at the time. We didn't know, but it was like, okay, there's something there. So that's the main thing. I want to know if there's something there. That's also
Bad
true.
take by me, but
Yeah. But it seems like we're getting Justice Haynes though at running back, which will continue the Haynes train. That it is illegal to have someone. It's illegal for us to not have someone named Haynes on the team. So it looks like we're getting Justice, who is from Georgia and has a no contact tag on his portal designation or whatever, and he's only been tied to us in the portal. So, which is also weird that like our strongest room next year is our running back room between J.P. Powell, Malachi Hosley, Chad Alexander, and we're just going to getting Michigan's running back. It's like that's interesting.
It's time to go back to the option. I'm telling you,
Sure.
there's a couple
Sure.
good A backs and a couple good B backs in this lineup. Just to talk about Justice Haynes real quick. Some of the reports around this, and obviously this is all rumor and conjecture, which I have another problem with. But it's like some of the reports are like, oh, he's going to Tech because they're offering him a $3 million contract, NIL deal. And my response to that, as someone that is worked with some sort of roster management before, is like, is that a lot? Is that a little? Is
We
this a
have no
smart
idea.
way of spending your limited money? Yeah, like you have all these guys transfer, so if they're all on NIL deals or all on those house $20 million deals, like those come off the books, and so you're putting some of that money back and creating that back in the aggregate. But like, I think another thing in this whole morass of transfer portal chaos is that you have no idea what the market value of some of these players is, or market value of like a running back, right? A market value of a wide receiver. Like, what is a one wide receiver going for? We kind of know what one quarterbacks are going for. That's like
Sort of,
$4 million, right? But what does a one running back go for? Like, it's just so hard to understand, to benchmark, right? And benchmark what these guys should cost. And I imagine like sitting in a front office, it's probably near impossible because the fog of war is so thick with this whole situation. No one respects the Deloitte-led like college sports commission thing
Nope.
that is supposed to be clearing these deals. And I mean, a bunch of schools can't even sign on to that agreement because of state constitution obligations. Like, there's no like, yeah, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't know everyone's compensation. You can say that, sure, but like, I don't know. Like, this is one of the things that comes with professionalism, right? In the United States, when you're in a professional sport, it's like contract details get released. Like, either that's a union negotiated thing or like the league negotiate, like something that the contract details get released that makes it easier for labor to know its worth and for management to accurately budget and expect predict what labor is worth, right? This is just the complete Wild West in terms of roster management and like salary cap because no one actually pays attention to the cap. But like, this is just the complete Wild West. So is $3 million a good deal? Is it a bad deal? It's a Michigan. It's a guy coming in from Michigan, but he's from Buford and Blessed Trinity. Maybe he's worth $4 million and he's taking a home down discount, right? I have no clue. I have no clue.
And if someone,
that's like part of the thing that sucks about this.
Yeah, and if some donor was like, "Hey, like, tell me what you need for this guy," then sure, it's how Bryce Underwood gets signed at Michigan. It's just like, "Hey, here's what do you need?" I'm not gonna say his name. Not gonna say his name because I don't like this guy. But
there's the story on that one. It goes a lot further than just some guy paid for Bryce Underwood. But again, I think that's
I told you I don't like that, man. That's why I'm leaving it there. But it's like you don't know when that's like that could be a thing that's happening. Like that's just one of the options. That's always kind of been an option in every era of NCAA football, and just SMU was just the team that got caught really badly. But there's thousands. There's so many different ways that stuff can get financed depending on how good your relationships are with your alumni and your donor base and things like that. And for us, it's getting better though. Like this deal, this Justice Haynes thing doesn't happen 2 years ago. No shot in hell. That is a big thing. That's a big thing. That's a big, like, we may not have any idea of like who the hell our team's going to be next year, but like we can still, like, we can land guys we could not land 2 years ago. And that is a big testament to what Brent's done so far. We may be like, okay, this Godsey thing was weird. Semore seems good, and there's still questions about like everything else going on. Like, nonetheless, every program has weird questions. Like, not everyone, not you can't bat 1,000 in football. Like, if you bat 400 in football, you're probably doing well with your various decision making. As long as you win, you're fine. So the process is going to be interesting. I think one thing I want to note is for Brent, this is like the first time we've seen Brent replace his own people too. Like he comes in, he inherits a lot of Jeff Collins' people, has to kind of have to go through those players and people for a couple of years ish, and then you get to Santucci, you get to Faulkner. It's like okay, so and enough of his recruits and transfers in and things like that, and you see the first real version of like here's what Brent Key football looks like, and it works really freaking well. Then they all get, and then now they're all basically gone. They're all poached or seniors and gone or whatever, or got fired or whatever. So at this point, it's like, okay, what does it look like when Brent replaces his own people? When he has more control over things, when he has more say in things. Now, does he actually? He probably has the same amount of say. I don't know, but just when there's just more track record there, there's something to compare to now. You can't just say, oh, he got lucky, or oh, like this is working out. Like we now have a standard, and can he keep meeting it? Is the question that I think that's lingering for me in all this. And stuff like Justice Haynes and Bo Perbula, if Bo works out, that's like, hey, that's actually pretty good. That's a good retooling. And at this point, we're good enough that we should be retooling and not rebuilding, so to say. When you're gonna, I mean, we're gonna finish as a ranked team. Well, we might finish as a ranked team. I don't know if the playoff
on the cusp, let's say.
We were no worse than like the 32nd, like no worse than like the 32nd best team in the country. Like we were any given day, like we almost beat a team that I thought should have been in the playoffs. Put it that way. We were that good in our last two games of the season. We were one score against Georgia and should have beat BYU, who I believe should have been in the playoff instead of Alabama. So like the ceiling is a hell of a lot higher, and it gets people that want to come here. But also, there's a lot of people with a lot of ceilings and a lot more opportunity. That's why the crap that Florida's happening. Also, like the defensive lineman we got, Tafik Thomas from Boulder. Yes, he was hurt a lot last year, but he was really freaking good when he played. Like that's a big time pickup too. So ironically, he'll play against Boulder after Colorado after playing there. But still, like there are plot points here. Well, as much as like we're malazing about this and not terribly not impressed at everything, we're never going to be impressed at everything. But there are plot points here that show that we are still on the growth trajectory, and it's not going to all happen at once. Indiana's a really good test. Signetti's a special guy. I think that's why Indiana's vaulted as fast as they had. Brett is very hard to have a Signetti. That's a once in a many years kind of guy that a program can get. There's not 30 of them just going around football. So, anyways,
well, that's a very natural segue. To be fair, let's talk about this national championship game very quickly. Guys, have you ever heard of a team winning a national title before winning a conference championship? Because there's like a 10 to 15% chance that Miami might win a national title before winning the ACC. And that
10 to 15. You think Indiana is 90-10 favored?
Did you see what they did to Oregon?
My eyes would tell me.
I'm an Indiana fan, and they got some turnover luck in there, man. I don't know. Good things don't happen.
It's true.
I mean, even with the turnover luck, their post-game win expectancy was 100%. So they put Oregon into a wood chipper, and Miami is also going to be put into a wood chipper at home, which will be even funnier.
Yes. What was very interesting is I put on our Twitter, I put out like, hey, are y'all ACC strong in this, or like for the Miami's game, or were we just like, no, they're our rival, we don't want them to win. And basically everyone that bothered replying said they're rooting for Miami, which I don't understand.
That makes no sense.
That makes no sense to me. I don't need our rivals. Yes, in the grand scheme of like for the business of it all, whatever. They're here. The Miami's already made the national championship game. Them winning the politics of it might help. The politics of it is just as long as the SEC isn't winning, we're making progress at this point. And no, I don't want to see people that are teams that we play doing better than us. Like that's not what I want to see. That we have to play. Indiana winning is fine all the time because like we basically never play Indiana anyways. But like, I don't
Miami
want the plot points that Miami's better than us.
Miami getting as far as they've gotten is perfectly fine for ACC plot points, in
Yes,
my humble
yes,
opinion. They have
I
looked
agree.
good. They've beaten good teams. They have done cromulently wonderful. Good on them. Them losing to the losingest team in college football history um, would warm my Indiana fan heart and warm my Georgia Tech fan heart at the same time. So,
They've done their job.
they've done their job.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. They've gone far enough. They can stop now. And next year, just put 4 ACC teams in the playoff or whatever. I don't know.
Uh,
Oh
yeah.
man, if seeding and bids were determined in a system like they are for European Champions League, watching the SEC get a couple bids dinged off for their bowl performance would be delectable.
Mm, mm.
Delectable.
But
Remember when
But we
instead,
don't
we're
live
just
in a just
instead we're
world.
just gonna have all these auto bids or
remember
whatever.
when
Ugh.
Sankey said that there should have been 7 SEC teams in the playoff? My God,
They've only beat Tulane and themselves in this year's playoff. That's fun.
so impressive. They beat 2 SEC teams if you think about it.
I've always
Eh,
thought, look, bowl records or like conference bowl records are completely pointless unless they agree with a personal narrative of
Yes.
mine. And this year's conference bowl records justify and underscore the point that the SEC sucks and no one should watch it. Anyway, let's move on to talking about Georgia Tech baseball, the number 2 team in the country according to Perfect Game. This is the highest preseason ranking for Georgia Tech since 2003, when Tech was ranked number 1 heading into the season. Jack, what do you remember from 2003?
I remember that Marcus Giles played second base for the Braves.
Honestly, that's more than I expected you were going to
There you
say.
go.
Hey,
Uh,
2003 is a traumatic sports year, so
Wait, no, he didn't play second
Bartman.
base. So, I don't know who
Oh, I
played
thought
second
you were
base for
going to
the
I
Braves.
question
knocked you
why it was
guys out of the
dramatic.
playoffs that year.
Chipper
Oh,
Chipper played
fun.
third base. I mean, not much I know. Wait, was he in left field then? I don't know. I don't remember who's on the
This
Braves
is
that
a
year.
very shaky memory, it seems.
I was
But
4.
the All American voters of Perfect Game did not have particularly shaky memories, as Tech was given 4 preseason All Americans. 2 on the first team, Drew Burris and Von Lackey. Second team, Jaron Advincula, who we talked about at length in our last segment. And then on the third team, Alex Hernandez, a surprise from last year. This is going to be, hopefully, a very fun year. Fingers,
Can
fingers and toes crossed.
but before we get too far away, can we just rattle off some of the other notes from the
Do it.
top 25? Yeah.
Rip it.
LSU is your preseason number 1. They are the defending champions. Jay Johnson returns there. Of note, but number 3, Tennessee. New face there. Tony Vitello has gone off to manage the San Francisco Giants, rounding
Time
out the
out there
top
for one
five.
second. Like, isn't it crazy that the
Yes.
Giants hired a like that's not something that
Much
you
less
like. You see
that
that in
college
football a
coach.
ton.
Yeah.
Like that
Uh,
that's highly unusual for college baseball. That crossover never really happens. And Tony Vitello is a pretty
That's the thing I would have thought
uh
the A's would have done because they got no other
yeah.
options.
Well, and he's a very personable dude with a lot of strong um opinions, takes,
he's
just a,
he's
a
got
certain way
some.
about him,
He's
you
got a
know.
certain way about him. I think that's the best way to put it. He is. He does not strike me as a guy that fits in what I consider a modern baseball organization. Like someone that's letting like the front office make optimized lineup and
He was a very
pitching
he was a
decisions.
he was a very college coach kind of guy. Like he made a
Yes.
Yep.
lot of sense in college baseball. That's why I think that's why it's so weird. Like
I have
there's
no
some
idea what
guys that
Buster
just seem
Posey's doing over there. Just
I don't know.
I
nothing.
guess
I don't know.
Buster Posey was very famously a big college baseball guy, so maybe maybe that's part of it. Anyways, rounding out the top 5: Arkansas, UCLA, Mississippi State, Oregon State, Texas, Florida State, and Auburn are the rest of your top 10. Tech will see Auburn. I think Florida State's on the the schedule. I just clicked away from it though. Jack or Akshay, you
I
could
don't think they are.
confirm
I think they're on the
there.
softball schedule.
Okay. Other notes, Virginia, UGA, Louisville, 14, 15, 16. North Carolina is at 18, Clemson at 20, NC State at 22, Miami at 24. Those are names that I don't think any of these would surprise any of us. Clemson has been good of late. NC State, couple College World Series appearances recently. Miami is obviously Miami baseball. Louisville was in the College World Series last year. We don't have to talk about the school out east any more than we absolutely have to. And Virginia, Chris Pollard has moved over from Duke. That team did not make the postseason last year, despite being extremely highly ranked before the year. But their coach, Brian O'Connor, is now at Mississippi State. And like I said, Pollard is over at UVA. So decent amount of movement. Not too many super shocking faces, but yeah, all these are teams that made the postseason other than, like I said, UVA and of course, UC Santa Barbara as well at
Yep.
21. So interesting times, guys. It's going to be here in what, 4 weeks,
A
5 weeks?
month and a half ish. Yeah, I mean, if there's any team that's got a real shot at winning it, we said this before, that's got a shot at doing a major postseason push, it's these guys of all the teams on campus. Maybe Hiroshi Tai wins another individual national title in golf if he goes on a hot streak, or the golf team figures it goes really well there. But no, there's no one's got more hype than these guys. For those that also listen to Kelly Quinlan's stuff, like he's mentioned from scouts that he's talked with, that like this is repeated, that this is the best lineup according to the scouts, top to bottom in the country right now. Now, of course, there's no games have been played, but we've seen these guys play a lot of baseball beforehand. So like we've got good data on this. I find it hilarious that like we've got purportedly the best infield in baseball, college baseball, and our best player doesn't play infield. Like that's been my pitch to people, like, hey, go to these games because that's how good this team is right now. And we have a lot of pitching returning that got us to a much more promising spot last year, still coming back. So yeah, I am realizing I'm going to be at Russ Chandler a lot this year for good reason.
Yes, I am owing the ticket office a call for certain needs there, as should everyone else who listens here. If you can make it to some, you're
Do it.
you're well served to go. So
Awesome. Let's take a quick break. Let's talk a little podcast business, and then we'll be right back at it talking about basketball, some swimming, some tennis. Back in tech.
yeah, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Section 103. Remember, 6 schools on Section 103 now, but of course, Georgia Tech is their first school there. If you're in the market for a new Georgia Tech shirt, I think the most recent one I saw was Coach Brent Key's quote about what colors he bleeds. That is, I think, a great reflection of the responsivity of Section 103. They're usually able to make cool things like that with ease. So check them out there, Georgia Tech, as well as the rest of their schools. As always, free shipping on orders over 100. Every day, use code FTRS for 10% off. Tell them we sent you. Gents, what do we got?
Let's start with the men's basketball team at Georgia Tech, currently 10-7, a 1-3 week with 2 close shaves versus Duke and Miami in tow, and then a victory over Boston College. Gents, where do we want to start with this 4-game set? For me, it feels like probably with that Duke game, which might have bought Damon a couple more weeks, months?
Maybe
Question mark?
we'll see. Like we always play. I mean, this is the time will tell. This team's like they play to their competition, play up or down. Uh, and this was, I mean, we've done pretty well against Duke in the Damon era. Like we outright won a game, nearly had them in the ACC tournament last year for a second. And then this game was close the entire time. Like I was fully not planning on I was playing on the scoreboard watching and just keeping tabs on it while there was other football going on. But I was like, oh crap, I actually gotta watch this. Like they were not going away. We were shooting incredibly well. That was the main thing. Is Kwesi was going off, and once that cooled off, then that was the end of it. Boston College, like, okay, that game is 12-point game that was close basically until the final minute of the game. Like that was no, there was no real separation in who was the worst team in the conference until the final minute of that game, and may as well owe that up to home field home court advantage. I was at the Syracuse game. There was a lot of Syracuse people there, like a concerning amount relative to the number of Tech people there. I noted that with a couple friends that I was at that game with. It was like, that's not good. And Miami kind of beat the crap out of us in the first half and basically made the game moot very early. So I don't know, Jake, if you got any other reads, but it's just like I'm not making any progress on my hope on this team.
I mean, I'd feel a little bit better about how we were kind of close late with Miami. If maybe you flip a Syracuse, obviously, Duke flipping that is asking for a lot, but if you're going to be even a bubble quality team, getting a 63rd best team in the country in the form of Syracuse in your building,
you have to win those.
You have to win. You got to win those. Not terribly surprised that there's a lot of Q's fans there, given that they've traditionally, at least I feel like when I've been at Tech versus Q's games, they've turned out decently, but
it was the relative.
I don't know.
The relative crowd, but it's like, yeah, we're not winning enough games, and it was a Tuesday night. Like, there's
we
that
have
part,
not won enough games. We have been involved in this situation for too long. For hey, we lost by 6 to a good team to be like complimentary. This is
yeah.
This is a 10-7 team, right? Like that's a pretty deceiving, I would say, number of wins. There are many single digit wins, teams with single digit wins ranked above Tech in Ken Palm. Obviously, depending on other leagues, there are teams with more wins below us, but Tech hasn't really, frankly, beaten much of anyone. And Boston College is not even our best win, and that was, like you said, close late. And this team is not convincing. They are not currently
one main thing to note is
making the progress I think we might have hoped.
One main thing is that Mo Silla was hurt starting with the BC game. He hasn't played these last 3 games. He's had a boot on and is seemed to like day to day ish. We'll see where that goes. Of course, injury news isn't a thing they really have to keep super close tabs on because it's not pros and whatnot. But yeah, I would say still go to games because it's just fun to go to a basketball game kind of thing. But it's like in terms of like where we're standing on like, is there a future for this team? Like also like the thing came out where it's like here's the top like NIL rankings or whatever jobs or whatever in the ACC and we're basically at the bottom. So like there's no whatever magic fairy dust or whatever can get shaken on this team. I don't know if we have it in house. Do we have it in house right now? Maybe, I don't know. But at some point the talent like we have so many data points of the talent just not getting us to a better spot in this conference right now, which is I think this is the frustrating part of it all and what we were hoping Damon could get us out of now.
They need to beat Pitt
this
week. That Pitt's what 94th ish in the country.
It's doable
at home. It's a doable game.
Yeah.
If you got to start showing something somewhere, I think that might still be the best win of the year if they can pull it off. They've been reasonably close with some of these ACC teams. You need to build momentum, get a couple of ACC wins under the belt. NC State is coming up, I believe, on Saturday at noon on the CW.
That'll be
on the road in Raleigh, in NC State's building. Like I said, they're about 24th. So just build a little momentum with Pitt. There's not a lot of coin flippy or better games in the ACC potentially. So you kind of got to start somewhere. I know we've talked Torvik too, but I think all this, looks pretty similar. If you're just looking at that too, I believe Tech is only penciling out better than BC by both them and Ken Palm and most other ACC metrics. So that not ideal, but it's kind of where we're at.
I'll add that this team has yet to win a game away from McCamish Pavilion. They are 10-2 within the friendly confines and 0-5 away.
Jeez. Okay. So, well, that's pretty damning.
That not to say that winning away is everything, but wins are wins. Like you gotta win some games.
You can't win anything important without winning away from your building. Like
they're minus 3.2 wins above bubble, right? Like that's not ideal. It's not the worst in the conference. That'd be BC at -5.4. Florida State and Pittsburgh also pencil out worse there, but they're not even competitive for the bubble fringy type resume, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, they're not there.
Next, four for this group, hosting Pittsburgh. What is that? On Wednesday. On Saturday, they'll travel up to Raleigh. Then they'll play Clemson at home, and then they go to Blacksburg next Tuesday. Let's flip over to the women's side of McCamish Pavilion real quick. The 7-10 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets there started off the week hot with an upset of a number 19 Notre Dame, who was 28th in the Torvik rankings. They took this to OT to finish the job, but a 95-90 win, the first big win of the Karen Blair era. It earned Talia Walker AP Honorable Mention Player of the Week. So that was pretty nifty. They then went into Dallas and picked up a win at SMU by 67-59, and then lost a 2-point game to Virginia at home. They just tipped off versus Clemson at noon. Very
nope.
quickly checking the
No, they're
4
mid
p.m.
game. They are
They're
mid
Oh,
game.
they're
mid-game.
mid game.
Yeah.
Do you
This
guys
is new.
notice did you guys notice who's starting for Clemson today?
Oh, is it Rusney?
Yeah, Rusney
Yeah.
Bustamante started for Clemson today. It's at McCamish. She's currently 1 for 4 with 2 points, but Tech was up in the first. We'll have to see there, but I think this is the unusual position of Clemson being a decidedly decently higher ranked team
Yeah.
than Georgia Tech in women's basketball. So maybe throw out the Jake, Jack, and Akshay old adage of beat Clemson in women's basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. I mean, this is the best. I mean, we were just kind of just waiting for this team to gel, and this is the closest thing we've seen to like, they might be figuring themselves out now, finally, kind of thing. Lots of game left to go. Of course, this is very early ACC play. Getting Notre Dame is massive. Though, like they're not the same Notre Dame of a couple years ago that were like top 3 in the country. They were 19th ranked at the time, I believe, during that game. So it's not the full fledged power of Notre Dame we faced in the past, but that still is not a game I would have ever thought we even had a remote chance in, at least given the track record we've had so far. So, 7-10 right now, but they're figuring it. Like this was always going to take time, and I'm really glad that these games are happening now. These wins are happening now because I would have said it's probably going to take even with Nell, when Nell reset the team, it still basically took a season and a half to get to a point of like, okay, here we go, now we got it going, and there's hopefully. Now, this could all be moot if we end up losing like 4 or 5 in the next couple weeks. So we'll see where that goes. But at least for now, this is as good of a spot they've been in this entire season.
Yeah, I'll add that this is the best 4-game stretch in this season per Torvik's game scores.
Good.
So an 89 versus Wofford, a 98 versus Notre Dame, a 90 versus SMU, and an 84 versus Virginia. Basically, as soon as they got out of that 10-day break for the holidays, they have been kicking it on. So that's really good to see for a team that we really did not know what they would look like out of the gate this year.
There we go.
There we go. They will play Duke on the 18th. So that is next Sunday. They're off after today for a week. So
can I do one thing on Torvik real quick? Because I forgot
Go for
about
it.
this existing. I just ran it for the men, but I really need to encourage everyone to check out this site. BartTorvik.com. He's got just about everything built out over there that one could possibly want for basketball. And guys, I completely forgot that they simulate essentially the entire I don't know, picture for the tournament. So I just went in there and plugged in wins for the rest of Georgia Tech's slate, just because I was curious, kind of see what happens if Tech were to win out. I'm not sure if they have it for the women. That's what I was just about to check. But for the men, if you click on a team's team page, You can essentially just do a simulation of the rest of the year. And I am sad to admit, or sad to announce, that if Georgia Tech wins out the regular season and goes 24-7, they would be in the first four teams out. They would not be in the tournament.
Ah,
They would not be in the tournament field, which is sad. The only problem is I always forget how I get to this page, so I'm currently stalling to try and get to a result for the women. But I don't see it on the team cast option on the women's side, so they may not have that built out. But suffice it to say, I think the women are trending in the right direction. I think that's, or at least a more positive direction than maybe I would have thought with some of the earlier season losses there. Is that a
To
fair
that
point, Troy?
point, if you look at that Partoric page and look at the efficiency in the last 10 games, the defensive efficiency across their last 10 games has come up.
Yep.
It's within the top 50 in the country.
Yep.
Before, right, if you include the entire season of games, they're 95th compared to 47th in the last 10. So there has been just coming up a little bit on the defensive side, I think has really helped them out here. Just adding a little bit more defensive quality, getting a little bit more tough. I think that has helped out a lot.
Yes. I am going to do some old-fashioned math. Give me like 10 seconds on the women's thing because I do not have the tournament cast, but I'm interested to see how many wins above bubble we have left on our schedule. I think that might be a good way to close that out, even without this fancy schmancy simulations.
my hope is a fair amount because the ACC is still relatively deep when it
Yeah.
comes to the women's basketball.
And they still haven't played a bunch of the heavy hitters. Duke,
Yeah.
North Carolina, Syracuse is back to being decent now. Obviously, they're playing Clemson right now, who's decent. Stanford is still on the schedule. VT is later on in the year,
NC
and then
State.
Louisville's at the back end of the schedule. So, and then Miami too is also at the back end of the schedule. So you're talking about, like, if you're looking down the Torvik rankings, you're looking at two eminently winnable games versus Boston College and Pittsburgh, one that's within a couple points versus Florida State, and then Miami also within a couple points, and then and I guess Clemson also within a couple points, but the rest are just like multi, like, 10, 12 point games that might be hard to overcome.
All right. So if Tech wins out, there are 6.22 wins above bubble left on the schedule. We are currently at negative 4.5. A 1.72 result would rank Tech as looks like the 30th best team in wins above bubble. You got to assume at least some of those teams above them, if everything else were to hold, would result in some automatic bids there. So that at least to me indicates that it would be a tournament quality resume. So even despite early losses, they seem to be able to still play their way back onto the bubble. So not guaranteeing anything there, but a win on the road at SMU, a win over Notre Dame, those are hard to come by. So I don't think that's anything to shake a stick at. So.
Cool. Like we said, women's basketball, they're in action right now as we record this on Sunday. So you'll probably know the result before we do, but they will be back in action next Sunday on the 18th at Duke, who's the 15th ranked team in Torvik. That's a 6 p.m. tip on ACC Network. Gentlemen, apparently the swim team wants Bama because they were in Tuscaloosa for a dual meet versus Alabama, who ranks 13th on the men's side and 16th in the latest coaches poll on the women's side. Jack, you want to walk me through these results?
The points wise, we got shellacked, so don't worry about that. The main beat here is that Vivian Rothwell is on a good track here, as she's one of our main backstroker. She had the 100 back program record, and she reset it by 0.2 at a dual meet. Made about a month out before the really big speedy meets come out at 52.72. That's a very. I mean, we've noted on the women's side, like there's lots, many records are up for the taking. They've been happening the last 3 years as that program gets built up. This is very good news for John Ames's tenure as the coach too, of just like, hey, finding people that can just be as good as we've ever had in these strokes and whatnot. So I think just in terms of, like, there's a lot of, we're past the whole last group of people that were on the men's and women's sides that were making, well, no one on the women's side was even making national meets. So
Well,
this is a very good sign just in terms of like, hey, here's someone that can maybe that get us some scoring and come the big meets here.
yeah, Taper is not a glimmer on anyone's mind right now. If you're beating a
No,
record by 2/10, that's, dare I say, emblematic of the first 22 years of the women's team history
yeah,
that can
yeah.
just happen. But I mean, she's a good swimmer. That's good to see. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, gents, just kind of flipping through some of the results, is I noticed that not every event had as many entries as I would expect. Not that, I think that finishing sixth, which is not scored in this meet format, helps you at all. But I did notice a couple cases where Tech only brought one or two entries in a given event, which I thought was a little odd, but also maybe reflective of smaller rosters this year
I
across the sport.
I was about to
That
say,
swimming
yeah,
has been absolutely devastated just about every program across the country in terms of roster size, and we're no different. So
yeah.
I thought that was a little bit interesting. Just given if you have a lane, you have a chance. If you don't swim a swimmer, you can't score those points. So
Yeah, it's not like we were like ever competitive either in this. This was not a beat we were swimming to necessarily win. Obviously, you're trying, but like the Bam was very
yeah.
good. Max Fowler
Mhm.
won all of his diving events. That's a good sign. That's you never know how he's going to do in NCAAs. He's been the most consistent swimmer or diver the last 4 years at this point. So that's good. Good to see. Phoebe Wright, another backstroker. So we got Vivian Rothwell breaks the 100 back program record. Phoebe Wright puts down the second best 200 back in school history at like 147 or something like that. So uh, that's all very nice to see as well. And the relays did half all right. So I mean, for a dual meet against Bama and more good teams down the line, like we're usually we don't have this good of news about the swim team in early January. That's fun, and we host all these teams and for ACCs and NCAAs this year because everything's happening at our place in March. So uh, that's all fun.
Jack, I just don't know if outside of Max Fowler and I guess Rothman, maybe a couple others that are out there, how much depth, dare I say, that Georgia Tech is going to have. Like it at least to me, and this men's team is typically one that's been a top 25 regular, at least since I've been tuned in, and certainly before then.
Yeah.
Um, they're just not in that ballpark this year, and I think that's something that's gonna either need to figure itself out, or we're gonna have to accept that the team is what it is. It's Max Fowler
Yeah.
and friends maybe, or something
Well,
like that, rather
it
than where it's
yeah.
been. But even in years where we were super high on this team, like what what did they top out at in the ACC finish?
I mean, yeah, we're
That
talking about this relative to
that year,
ourselves, not relative
right?
to the rest of the country, because
Yeah,
Virginia literally had the women's national team on their team for like 4 years. Um,
yeah,
I mean, in terms of the names that have been breaking records that are still on the team right now, Sabine Brisson has been doing really well with breaststroke. Max Fowler, of course, still here. Anna Hadjiloizu, sprint freestyles, she's been good there too. And then Vivian, and then Phoebe. So weirdly, like the big names right now, because all the guys that had been breaking records are gone. Like that, we are in complete reset on the guys' side of things. And so this is I'm glad to see that it's like, oh, the main names we're paying attention right now are the women because they're doing things that literally this program has yet to have seen in our pool. So
yeah.
Cool. Good stuff in the pool. They are back in action also next weekend. The versus Duke or at Duke, excuse me. Duke's women's team ranks 20th in the last coaches poll. Gentlemen, it's time for everyone's favorite game, reading schedules. The full women's tennis schedule is out. Any notables that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, they do get the University from Athens on the 30th at 5 p.m. That'll be at Ken Byers. That's pretty notable to
yeah, it's
me.
big.
Of course, you got State, Auburn on the non-con schedule. The South Carolina match, we don't get them in a lot of sports. You might think that like a baseball or something like that it would come up. It really never does. But women's tennis plays them a lot, and it's always pretty interesting. They're headed there on February 8th. I honestly wish I knew more about the national landscape than I do this year. Just haven't looked at women's tennis too much yet. But South Carolina and Tech generally tend to sit at pretty similar spots in the sport. So I'll be using that as a bellwether. They also get Mississippi State and Rutgers in terms of bigger name non-con. They'll head to California late in February, the 20th and the 22nd. Other than that, it's classic travel partners. They'll get the Louisville Notre Dame pair at home, Virginia Tech and Virginia pair at home. Miami and Florida State will also be at home. They're going up to Charlotte on the ACC Open weekend. So interesting that Tech's paying them a visit, but go figure. Not too far of a trip there. They'll get, looks like Duke and North Carolina on the road, and Syracuse and Boston College on the road as well. So I guess that means no NC State and no Wake Forest on the schedule this year. I guess ACC expansion has limited that, but go figure. I'm sure getting two road matches in North Carolina for Duke and North Carolina are plenty in that regard. But yeah. Oh, also of note, NCAA team finals, should they make it that far past the first and second rounds and past the super regionals, they're in Athens, so not too far away. ACC championships will be at the Cary Tennis Park, so familiar location there, and I guess familiar location for the final as well. So.
Awesome. A couple other news and notes from around the flats. Bobby Dodd Stadium will host Bruno Mars coming up in April. It seems like the grand plan to maximize revenue from the stadium, despite it potentially being under construction, is proceeding apace. Every possible revenue opportunity continues to be exploited. The other major news, there was a $500,000 commitment to the Alexander Tharp Fund by a family foundation. Pretty awesome. I feel like there's either the massive amounts, like the $10 million, like the two $10 million ones, or like, us normies spending like a couple tens of bucks. Is
Yeah.
that this middle band of donations? I don't think we see too often. So I'm pretty interested to see this grow.
I mean, it matters. It's an arms race. So, telling your fans, "Hey, this is coming. We're actually doing the job here, and people are stepping up," is a big deal. And you want to see people step. You want to publicize that in case, like, hey, someone needs a little push. Hey, someone here. These people did it. These people did it. You can do it. So we'll see. That's not a thing we would have seen also 2 years ago. Like, oh yeah, here we like it's part of the new realm of college sports and whatnot. That's like, yes, we have to advertise when we got $500,000 because it does matter. It does go to something. And there's a lot of things. There is no amount of money they can't use right now. So,
Yep, agreed. Gentlemen, anything else before we wrap up for this weekend?
I came across a random fact that Daniil Medvedev has won 22 pro tennis tournaments. He's won them at 22 different tournaments. He's never won the same tournament twice.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah.
Looks like the NFL has gone crazy this weekend. Every single game has lost its mind thus far in the playoffs.
Of note, Jackson Hawes is still alive. The Bills won. We'll see what happens with this Eagles game and EJ Jenkins.
A wide world of sports.
And Keon White.
One
One of Keon White or Jenkins is going to get kicked out here because the Niners and the Eagles are playing each other. So we're going to be down to two tech men after today.
Gentlemen, very quickly, national championship game picks. Jake, I figure I know which way you're going on this one.
Hoosiers.
Indiana by 30, maybe 40.
We really shouldn't be letting these group of 5 teams in the tournament.
It's a terrible thing.
Oregon and Alabama and now Miami, I guess.
If Miami's a group of 5 team, what does that say about us?
I know. I was hesitant to make the joke, but no.
All right,
I just
Mr.
think all
Grant.
that discourse is cursed. So like it.
All right, Mr. Grant. In lieu of the demise of the ACC, take us out.
As always, this podcast is brought to you by From the Rumble Seat. You can find us at FromTheRumbleSeat.com. You can find us via email, FromTheRumbleSeat@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, feedback, suggestions. You can find Jack and Akshay at GameOnPaper.com. They're providing lots of content over on Blue Sky for that, as well as you can find From the Rumble Seat over on social media. You can find Section 103 on Instagram at Section 103 or on Instagram as well at From the Rumble Seat. You can find Section 103 at section103.com. And I've done this in a weird order, so I think that covers most of it. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook as well, and podcasts wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Till we talk next, good night, good luck, and good night.